Good morning, poppets, or whatever you are. Good morning. Yes, the great button pushing has come to pass, says Michael. Yeah, it has. Cassio is here as well. Hello, what's up, Mitchell? All right, I should have a little bit more order or process or something. Okay. Let's do this slightly in order. Beginning with, I acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Whadjuk Noongar peoples. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and to Aboriginal elders and peoples from other communities who may be taking part in this live stream today. And welcome to everybody here. Getting myself organized. And I'm going to say some quick hellos, and then, yeah, so much stuff, so much. Okay, good morning to Amanda, Crispian, Michael Wise, Mitchell R, Cassio, Imi, Gavin, DIY in the Ghetto, Tech Nebulous, Guru is here. G'day, Grant. It's so good seeing you back in the streams recently. David Howe, Stephen George, Scott Miller, David C., Gerald, some call it fun, Henrik, Jax Tech, Stephen W, Pete. I've just got to click on a whole bunch of things here. I'm going to clear some names off the list so I know who I have said hello to. So I should be using the trackpad instead of the clicky button on the other thing, because then it's less loud. And getting there. Okay, so the topic for today. Paul is here. Paul, it was good to see you last week. It doesn't seem like last week. And yeah, technically. Okay, so we're on a Sunday. It was earlier, the week just gone, which kind of means it was this week. But is this week the week that's starting now? I don't know. Anyway. Paul, it was good to see you again. And Rod is here. Rod Whippy, Austin, Kim S, Andrew Brown. Yes, so I met Rod in person in Adelaide as well. Yes, so good to spend some time over there and see people who I haven't seen in person for several years because of COVID and everything else. Where am I? Hang on. Does somebody want to try saying something, and we'll see if this text-to-speech is working? Week start Monday, says Stephen W. Well, that is I have seen alternative interpretations of that. All right.
Mitchell R said test.
Yes, that is functioning. And Pete said, it'll get there. It'll catch up. Richard is here as well.
Pete said, oh no, not again.
Squirrel. Yes. So the week starts at second coffee on Monday, says Michael. That is a rule of life that I could get on board with. That is a pretty decent way to define the start of the week. I like that. Okay, so a quick retrospective, and then we'll get into some things. Okay, I just want to point something out to you. Robinson Aerospace. Here we go. Check this out. I'm going to throw it up to you in just a moment. Thanks, DIY. Yes, that still works. I'm going to drop this in the chat. Okay, so while I was in Adelaide, I finally caught up with Kelly, who I knew many years ago through LinuxConf, and we stayed in touch over the years. But she lives in Adelaide, I live in Melbourne. Opportunities to cross paths have not been very common, and finally got to see her again during the conference, which she came along to, which was fantastic. And she put me in touch with a guy called Ed Robinson. And so Angus and I then went and had dinner with Ed. And the next morning, the day that we drove back from Adelaide, we went out to see his little factory / lab, which was incredible. This place is so cool. So Robinson Aerospace, a lot of what he is doing is very much like, look at this, what he says here. Inspire young people to join the global STEM workforce and equip them with the skills and knowledge to do so. This is what they are working to do. Provide insanely exciting and engaging STEM experiences inside the classroom and out, etc. So what he is doing is using space technology as a way of inspiring students, to get into STEM. And what he is doing is really, it is what my dream was for ArduSat that never came to pass. And it's amazing to see all of this happening. There are, oh, there he is in that shot on the camera. Oh yeah, that's Ed there facing the camera. And as you can see, he's very young. When he started designing his satellite, this is something that Kelly was telling me about. When he first started designing his satellite and then applying for a launch, he was 17 years old, and he wasn't even old enough to sign the contracts that were necessary to get stuff to happen. So he had to get other people to sign contracts for him. And yeah, he ended up building a satellite and raised some funds and started an aerospace company and employed people. So he's now got a bunch of people working for him, and they're building these little satellites. So yeah, super cool. They've got a satellite that is currently, right now, I think it's in Germany. It's gone through integration and it's going to be taken up by a SpaceX launch pretty soon. So it's going to be ending up in orbit soon. Has chat stopped working? Is the stream still going? SquirrelSat. Yeah, Michael says. So I have actually considered recently whether, this is like the biggest squirrel ever, because I've been wondering recently whether we should do a CubeSat project as a live stream project.
Said, we are active.
You're active. Maybe I'm not. And Pete says, Chad is just quiet while we focus. Okay. So Ed is one
Pete
of...
said, your face has stopped working.
My face
Scott
never
Miller
worked.
Said, we've all gone away.
My face never worked, Pete. It has been defective forever. Oh, good. Thanks, Guru. Stream is rock solid. So, yeah. I don't actually know how old Ed is now, but he's still... I think he's like 22 or something, 21. Like, he's a young guy and doing all of this incredible stuff. So one of the interesting things is that when ArduSat was launched, I've got to try to think of the anyway, trying to remember. There was a number that was in my head way back at the time for the cost of getting something into orbit, and it was, I think, in the order of $100,000 per kilo to get into low Earth orbit. It might have been $50,000, I'm not sure. But in any case, the cost of going up on a SpaceX launch is really low. Like, it's shockingly low. I think it was in the order of $6,500 or something to get a CubeSat into space. Now, granted, that was not on a free orbit, So it was still attached to some other vehicle. There are a couple of different ways that you can do this. One way you can get a payload into space is that you can have it attached to the superstructure of some other spacecraft. So you're essentially hitching a ride and you're going along with where the other spacecraft wants to go, which means you don't need to care about attitude, determination and control and a whole bunch of other things. You don't need to worry about having an orbit assigned to you because your orbit is the same orbit as the thing you are attached to. And that is what's happening with the CubeSat that Robinson Aerospace is sending up soon. James Derrick said, transporter mission, not a rideshare. So the, and ArduSat X and ArduSat 1 were released from the International Space Station and went out on their own orbits. So that's a different level of handling. There is a whole lot of intervention that has to be done once they go up there. It's not just, I say just, as if it's a trivial thing, but it is not just attaching to an existing superstructure and then from that point there is nothing extra to do for you. You just have to work. So it would probably cost more than that if you wanted to end up in your own independent orbit. But nevertheless, the cost of sending something into space now, at least into low Earth orbit, is dramatically less than it was a few years ago. So it has crossed my mind the idea of trying to build a super lab / super house CubeSat. But that would be the ultimate squirrel project. So let's not let ourselves be too distracted by that at the moment. And instead, we will just look at what other people are doing. Yeah, these things are cool. And hopefully I'm going to get one of these. This is the CubeSat classroom kit. And it does all this cool stuff. Yeah, Ed is coming to Melbourne for the air show in a little while, in a couple of months. And he said sometime before that, what he'll probably do is send me one of these CubeSat kits and then I can show it on a stream, because he was quite enthusiastic about the idea of me, oh look, here's how to assemble a CubeSat. So one of the things we could do is assemble one of his CubeSat kits on the stream and see how it all goes together. Hopefully that can happen like in the next few weeks, which would be really, really neat. Michael says someone needs to Photoshop a space helmet onto Steve. And Pete says we need a balloon to send Steve and Steph into space. Yes. Yes. So, a high altitude balloon. I know a few people that are into HAB projects. It actually really would not be that hard for me to organise to get Steve and Steph onto a HAB and end up right up on the edge of space. Kerbal, Steve and Steph. James Derrick said, getting qualified RF transponders is a big help. Yep. Oh yeah, there are so many issues in relation to certification. Scott says, only if we give them a re-entry vector. Well, yeah, you've got to hope that you recover it. That is the risk, because with high altitude balloons, depending on the... and Pete says, so, yeah,
Pete said, I know you know HAB people. That's why I said it.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. All right. Yeah. This is just adding to the problem, you know. The whole point of what I wanted to talk about on this stream today was finishing things, not adding new things. So let's how am I going to do this? How? All right, I'm going to open a document because I want to keep it open for the rest of the stream. And
Pete said, squirrel.
Squirrel, and it can be a bit of a brainstorming sort of thing. Okay, I'm going to bring this up on screen. Hopefully, even though I'm revealing the URL, it's authenticated. No, I don't want to start with the pre-built table. So hopefully that does not allow anyone else to jump in and do this, to mess with this. Okay, project and next task. How about we make those the things? And how about view? We go to like 200% view, drag this out here a bit, drag this way out here, and do the thing of using a spreadsheet, because it's the most general purpose hammer that we can reach for. Now, I should back up just a second for context. One of the things that really prompted this, there are several things that prompted this. One was I had a number of conversations at LCA, but I've had them in other contexts as well. It's the classic thing where people ask, so what are you working on? And in my head, I have this list that is so big that I can't even remember it all, and none of it is done. And the other thing is, while I was away during the week, I got an order, a Superhouse order for the RJ45 breakout board, the light switch controller breakout board. And I'm not going to reveal too much about this because I certainly don't want to dox anyone. But the upshot of it all was, the person who sent me the order said that they had their light switches in their house running off, I think it was a couple of ether megas, and they'd had some failures. They wanted to put a rack 32 in, but it had been out of stock on my online store for like a year. And so in the order, and they're in this situation where the light switches in their house aren't working and haven't been working for a while. And they didn't say this. I'm saying this. I am saying that is my fault because I have not been keeping up with stock. They're in a situation where their house is now dependent on things that I designed and that I haven't been able to provide. So, I just saw Paul talk about the skill trees. Okay, that's a whole other thing. I'm going to show you, I might show you that in a moment as well. Where's my backpack? It's got to be around, oh, there it is. Okay, I do have my book, the book there.
Said, not entirely, there are options.
Yeah, Austin says, not entirely, there are options. Paul said maintenance is greater than creation. Yes. So Paul, what Paul is referring to here is one of the keynotes. In fact, it was the first keynote at Everything Open, and there were four lines in it that were general principles. I can't remember what the others were. I think it was processes are greater than something. Anyway, Paul, if you can remember what those others were, please chuck them in the chat. But one of them was maintenance is greater than creation. And by greater than, in this context, it just means it could be more important than or more effective than. If you are creating something, it can stagnate and then lose relevance. If you maintain something, you can have a big impact, and the thing can continue and it can scale and provide more benefits to more people over time. Here we go. Okay, Paul has, Paul and Rod have both contributed. So people are greater than computers is one. Community is greater than projects. Maintenance is greater than creation. And there was one more, but I can't remember. Oh, Tabraze is here as well. Good morning, Tabraze. So, Yes. So, where is it? Somewhere. There were a couple of talks at Everything Open that are worth watching. And Justin's talk about these things. Wagon loads. Haha. Welcome. I need to have a quick chat. Quick chat. Blech. Get the words out. There are a couple of names that have popped up in the list who I've actually already talked to. But good morning to James Derrick, Richard Felsen, Simon, to Braze, Wagon Loads. Welcome. Okay, so there were a few things that were pushing me towards doing this finishing projects. This finishing projects focus. There was that one with the person who needs these boards, which made me. I was talking about this a few weeks ago, maybe it could be a couple of months ago now. I don't know. Where I was talking about the Rack32 and trying to do the version that is based on an ESP32S3. And now I'm starting to wonder whether I should also add thread support to that and do a version of the Rack32 that has an S3 plus an H2 chip in it so that it can act as a thread gateway or a device on a thread network. That could be quite useful. Paul, you found it. So the fourth thing was ecosystems are greater than artifacts. Yes. Now in Justin's talk, systems are greater than individuals. So in Justin's talk, he goes into each of these four areas, such as ecosystems are greater than artifacts, systems are greater than individuals, etc., and explains them. So that is a talk that's worth seeing. The Everything Open talks I don't think are up yet. There should be some of them starting to go up soon.
They creep.
The features, they do creep, Scott. So in fact, what I should do, let's do this. I'm going to put this up here. What I should do is rearrange my, and then where can I put this? Maybe about there. I need to totally rejig my streaming setup, realistically, because I need to set it up more like the way Sion has it, where he shows the chat on the stream. Because when you're watching, for many people who are watching this afterwards, they'll see me interacting with the chat and they don't even, I've had many people say, who are you talking to? Like when you are doing these live streams and I see you responding to people, what is it that you're responding to? And top chat to live chat. Oh, that's true. I normally do that, but I forgot.
Pete said you should switch from top chat to live chat.
Yep. Yes, you're absolutely right, Pete. I totally forgot. And so people don't really know. Imi with the
Imogen Ann said, why did the chicken cross the road?
The big philosophical questions. Just need the pop-up for the super chats. Oh, the super chats come up in the main chat as well. But yeah, I need like the over-the-screen thing. I need to consolidate. What I need to do is get rid of my external laptop and have everything running off OBS and the ATEM on my primary computer. He was chasing the squirrel. Sion, you're here. I was just talking about you.
Bob Cos. Scott Miller said he was chasing the squirrel.
So you're able to see the chats in order while watching a replay. Yeah, that's right. Good morning, Sion. Yeah, I was just saying, as I moved this chat onto the screen, maybe 2 minutes ago, I was just saying that I need to rearrange my streaming setup to be more like the way you do it, so that chats are visible on stream. Yeah, that's all it was. Don't worry, Sion. It's nothing bad. It's taking inspiration from you, because so many people who watch these streams watch just the video that's on the stream. They don't see the live chat running, and they don't know what it is that I'm responding to when I'm talking to people. So, okay, let's try to take a few of these thought patterns and jam them together. Firstly, let's finish some of these little neural threads. Firstly, Everything Open conference was generally very good. There were a couple of talks that annoyed me, but let's not get into those. And it was awesome to catch up with people, many of whom I haven't seen for several years. And visiting Robinson Aerospace Systems was very cool. So, yeah, the chat does take up a bunch of space, Sion. You're right. That is the downside of it. But then having my face on here takes up a bunch of space as well. Pete says, annoying talks at Everything Open? Never. Yeah, there were two in particular that, that frustrated me. So, okay, so Everything Open. There were, with the talks last year, with Everything Open in Gladstone, there were some hiccups with processing the videos, which meant that many of the videos, if not most of or all of them, are actually not online yet. So they were streamed live, but they haven't been, whatever the processing is necessary to do to then upload them to YouTube has not been done. But this year, and as a result of this, the team this year tried to figure out a way to make it work a bit better, and they should be getting videos up sometime soon. So hopefully some of the good talks, all of the talks, but the good ones are the ones I care about, will be up on YouTube really soon. And I might talk about those once they become live. I might talk about them in future live streams and point you to them on YouTube. Okay, so talking to people at Everything Open was one prompt. The order during the week for the light switch breakout and talking about the lack of the rack 32 being available was another prompt. So what I did was I scrounged around. So the outcome of all of this is the person who I won't name just in case because I don't want to dox them, ordered a 24-port light switch breakout and sent this big note explaining their situation. So what I did yesterday was dig around in all of the PCBs that I've got and spare parts and odds and ends, and I came up with a rack 32. So what I'm going to do is send them the 24-port thing plus the rack 32, and then that leaves me with, I think it's 7 PCBs. So I've got 7 bare PCBs for rack 32s, and my goal is to assemble them all. That's with the existing design. Even though that design, so I'd held off on it previously because in my head I've got this idea for totally redesigning the rack 32. Let's Superhouse, sorry, I'm just gonna pull this up. Rack 32. Is this URL going to work? It is. Okay, so this this is what I'm talking about for those of you who don't know. That photo shows an incomplete one because it doesn't have the PoE regulator on there. But this is the rack 32, which is it's a home automation controller, universal rack controller. Oh, this, yeah, V1.0. This is the older design. It changed a bit since then, but I haven't updated the photos. I changed the power schema to make that a bit more robust. Still got the horrible linear regulator on it. The thing is that I haven't wanted to assemble more because it's got this weird power supply design, which came about as a result of trying to give it this universal power. So you can do power in from you can power it off USB, You can power it through the connector on the back. You can power it using DIY power over Ethernet if you put these two jumpers in place down the bottom here. And you can power it using 802.3 power over Ethernet with these jumpers removed. It's like this combination of things. It supports all of these different power sources, and the result is that on the first pass on V1.0 my power supply design was not that great. It works, but I'm not happy with it. So and so this is why I was hesitant to make more of them. And I have these I have now 7 bare PCBs for this sitting there, although they're for V1.1, which has got it's got a minor improvement in the power supply area. I want to do the major redesign, but because I never actually get to the redesign, I've then never assembled more of these because I've been hesitant to sell them. And the result is these have been out of stock. See, you can't do add to cart. They're listed as out of stock. Oh, hang on, you got to choose which one you want. Out of stock and external antenna, out of stock. Yeah, because I had a version as well with the UFL connector on it, so that you could use an external antenna. So, not to mention how bad this website is now. It's horrible. Look at the navigation on this. It's ridiculous. It's all the CSS is broken. The Superhouse site is a mess.
Pete said, your face is out of stock.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. It's a good thing that my face is out of stock. I hope your face is in stock. Much better for your face to be in stock than my face. Yeah. So I've been in this sort of limbo situation where I haven't wanted to assemble the final boards that I have here because I haven't wanted to send them out because I'm unsatisfied with the design. I wanted to make sure that, I wanted to do that redesign before I assemble more. But time goes by, months go by, and in the meantime there are people out there like our correspondent who have houses with light switches that don't work because I can't supply them boards. Oh, Crispian says it is bad enough with one of you getting around. Yeah, we don't need any more of me. Mr. Fix-It, hey, you made it. That's awesome. Good morning, Mr. Fix-It. Yeah, so, however, after that after that order and message during the week, it really made me think, okay, I have to assemble the other 7. Even though I am not particularly satisfied with this design, I need to put them together just to tide a few people over who are desperate in the meantime, and that then allows me to work on the redesign and doing the new version of it. So, okay, that is one thing. I want to finish the Rack 32 redesign. Okay, so here's the plan. The big, there we go, big picture. So I want to make a list of things. This is where you come in. Uncle Sam needs you. We're going to brainstorm Rack 32. Redesign with S3 and H2. Oh no, I'm going to change that. My plus H2 and new power supply. Okay, that'll do. So the marker to-do list. Thanks, Mitchell. Scott says, package them with a note about the upcoming redesign and maybe a coupon for a discount on the new version. That is a fantastic idea. Yes. Yes. Give them a discount code or something. Yeah. Okay, so all right. So the big picture, Project Dopamine. You and I together, right now, at this moment, we are about to undertake a new journey, and that journey is Project Dopamine, finish stuff. So what I'm going to do is dump a list of things in here. Part of this, of course, is getting this list down somewhere so that my brain is no longer spinning on it and trying to juggle all the balls at the same time, because then I just drop them. And what we can do is we can make this a living document. I mean, I don't like that term. I don't know why, but it just feels wrong to me. But anyway, living document. We will refer to this document on an ongoing basis through the course of the year and work on things. Oh, that's right. That's right. The other thing was, I've had a couple of comments. Did you say one option is powering Rack 32 from the rack itself, says Wagonloads? Yes. Yeah, the Rack 32 supports power over Ethernet. Both kinds. So, yeah. Well, yeah, one of the comments was, there was a comment on one of the recent videos.
Better than a zombie document.
Where was that? Better than a zombie document, says God, right. No, Sion. I will try not to play with my balls on a live stream.
Mitchell R said, I would probably recommend saying do a daughter board for the PSU stuff for the R32. So the actual R32 board itself is lean. Also means more features later if someone wants similar to Poe daughter.
That is a very interesting idea, Mitchell. So the power supply section could be done on a daughter board, which is the design that I did on the Ether Mega. If we have a look at draw.ccem, let's see what I can find here. Yeah, so Ether Mega. The way I designed this, don't know if we can actually see anything here. Yeah, down here, it's a little hard to see. Down here, there are a couple of black headers sideways off this 4-way pin header, and it says PoE. And then there is a mounting hole up here. I don't know if you can see my cursor. And then there is another mounting hole down here. And what this does is bring up, it exposes the power rail for the board. Actually, what it exposes is the input to the switch mode regulator that is already on the board. And it also exposes the output from the PoE connection. So what you can do is plug a module in on top here to add PoE support, either so you could add support for DIY PoE or add support for 802.3.
Mitchell R said, think of the tester design, modular, easier to make upgrades, changes over time, just change module. In this case, it could just be like an Arduino shield, but included always but has PWRSTF.
Yeah, so what we would need is, I think the way I would do this is I would include the switch mode regulator directly on the board. Yeah, okay. We could spend the rest of the stream talking about this. I'm going to try to avoid that because what I want to do is make a list. And as we're going through this list, someone said, who was it? Like does that needs 12 volt input via terminal block being using a rack input XT60 panel mount. Yep, cool. That's right. Scott says item 2 for the list complete, filling in the list. Yeah, fill in the list. Now, what I want to do is I do not want to dive too deeply into each of the things. I could spend the rest of this stream on the Rack 32, but the point of what I want to do now is I have all of these things in my head, and I need to get them into the spreadsheet, that way, into the spreadsheet so that I can just refer back to it and I can relax and know that I'm not going to overlook things. So rack 32. Now is the time to drop in, but think of this modular, change module. Yeah, okay, sorry, I was just reading the chat there again. Now there are other factors. Another factor is that I have an immediate need for finishing stuff. There are a couple of things that all right. Someone, I can't even remember if I said this, and it was 5 or 10 minutes ago. There was a comment on a video recently. Someone said I'm paraphrasing essentially, this is from memory. Someone said these slideshow live streams are becoming tiresome. What about actually working on stuff? You know, that sort of thing. And I totally understand that sentiment. So all of these different things together have been driving me towards wanting to do more streams where I actually do stuff. You know, just got to open Dropbox on my phone to sync stuff up, because yesterday, what's the date today? 25th, yeah, it must have been this one. Let's see. Yes, all right, so in danger of incurring the wrath of the no more slideshows gods, this is, this was a photo from yesterday. What you can see there is, well, you can see my front door there, up in the back left. KO1 is the one on the left, KO2 is on the right, and there is something important that you will notice. Firstly, if we zoom in here, you can see that the LED ring is on and the machine is powered up.
Unexpected Maker said, doing stuff on a live stream is totally overrated. Pete said, yes, more Funway food.
Funway, yeah. Yeah, Sion, you're right. Doing stuff on a live stream is overrated, but at the very least, it would be good to make some progress on things and then go over them on live streams rather than just me talking about stuff. So anyway, you can see up here, the machine is running. KO2.
Said, there is nothing wrong with sharing your progress updates.
Yeah, sharing progress updates is okay, but it has become a bit too slideshow heavy recently. So KO2 is now live as of last night, and it's even relatively neat. It's a bit hard to see down here. You can see there is a black lead hanging out there, and you can see there's a white lead there. So that white lead is the main power coming into it. I need to route that a bit more nicely. I just plugged it into an extension cord to do some testing. And this black lead, well, that's just a lead that happens to have fallen out of where I had it stuck in. So that just needs to be pushed back in. And you can see the little blue LED there.
Said, do you have your conveyor going between both machines yet?
No, and that is exactly the point that I am getting to. Thanks, Sion. So you can see the output of the conveyor here on machine 2, and there is a gap in between machines 1 and 2. That gap is approximately 348 millimeters face to face on the conveyors.
Scott Miller said, sloppy cable management.
Yeah, I know. This one needs to be more neatly enclosed. But yeah, that, excuse me, when that cover goes on, everything is totally enclosed. It's all really neat in there now. And I don't know, oh, you can't really see because I can't zoom in enough. I used my fancy Brother label printer to do little cable flags, and every cable in here, every USB cable, every power cable, every data cable, etc., is labeled. And it's inside there, that machine now, it's kind of a work of art. It's nice. And now I want to go back and rewire the first machine to make it just as neat because it's more of a cobbled together thing. Oh, and you can see the keyboard trays. I made 2 new keyboard trays because I was unsatisfied with the way the keyboard sat up on the previous tray, which I showed a couple of weeks ago. So I did a new version, and there is a slot cut into the back of this where the battery compartment for the keyboard fits down into. So the whole thing sits flush. And then this keyboard is sitting inside a cutout. You can see it's 2 layers. There is a layer of 6mm clear acrylic, and then there is a layer of 4.5mm white acrylic. The white acrylic has the cutout that matches the shape of the keyboard, so the keyboard sits flush inside this.
The back of my desk doesn't exist. Nobody can prove anything.
Nobody can prove anything, Scott. Yeah. So the and these keyboard trays have turned out really well. I'm very happy with that. Yeah. So I revised the design to make the keyboard tray for the second machine, and then I knew that it would bug the crap out of me if the 2 trays were different. So I ended up making 2 of the new design, and I scrapped the old one. In fact, you can see the old one there. See, it's sitting up on top of the machine. I took it off when, yeah, obviously I had to take it off in order to put the new one on. But I now have the old keyboard tray sitting up there. I should just chuck it in the bin. Or maybe I should keep it aside in a spares thing in case one of these breaks and I need to swap it back in again. Don't know. So, yeah, there is currently a gap. The conveyors between the machines are not joined. There is an air gap. So unless we project the PCBs very, very rapidly and accurately, they are not going to bridge the gap from one machine to the next. So that is an immediate need. I need to sort this out. I also need a conveyor. I need a short conveyor for linking the machines. So that one's going to be just over 340mm long, and that fits in between there. PCB trebuchet, says Michael. Outside the box says, put it in the museum. Wagon Load suggests you need to use my optical I2C docking system. No wires. Optical I2C docking? Okay. Wagon Loads. I think I need to know more about that. So what I need is the 340 something millimeter conveyor to go in between the 2. I then need a conveyor on the output side for the inspection area. And because I do not have a board loader and solder stencil printer to go on the input side, there's basically just a big hole there at the moment. I've allowed space for them, but I don't own them. So I have a couple of meters of space here on the input side of the line. It's just a big chunk of empty room. What I'm planning to do as an interim measure, because I can't afford to buy a stencil printer yet, is to just put a really long conveyor there. I'm going to put oh, Amanda said,
Amanda Thompson said, does your nice white floor now have a permanent mark on it?
Yeah, it's got a couple of marks that I need to fix. Well, you can see blue tape there. That's painter's tape. That's what I was using when I was measuring out the locations of all of the machines. I've got a spreadsheet that lists all the machines that will go into the line, including the stencil printer, board loader, board stacker at the end, all of that sort of thing. So I have a list of the machines and their dimensions, and I measured it all out and put marks on the floor so that I would put the pick and place machines in the correct location, allowing for adding more machines front and back. Or when I say front and back, I mean the start of the line and the end of the line. Buff out that floor. Now I'm just going to repaint it. And you can see there, yeah, there's a mark down here on the floor where it's got a bit scuffed. But now that these are in place, my plan is to repaint the floor and just avoid the wheels. So yeah, I'll put another coat of paint on, make it all look nice after moving heavy machinery around has kind of scuffed it up a little bit. All right, so I'm going to do a long conveyor belt and put it on the input side of the first machine so that when boards have been pasted up, they can just be queued up on the conveyor belt, and the belt will have board sensors on it so that it will know when there is a board at the end of the belt, and it'll know when that board finishes, like once it passes off the belt, it'll know that it's reached the gap in between boards. So the idea is that I could paste up a few panels or PCBs or whatever and just load them all on that conveyor with a gap in between them, and then that conveyor can feed them on demand into the input of the first machine. And then later, when I get a stencil printer, that can go into that space in place of that long incoming queue. Yeah, so conveyor. What needs to be done on the conveyor? I need to assemble... there is a list of things to do. Okay, so this is... already this list is failing. I'm going to have a list inside a list. I do not want to turn this into a project management system, because each of these things, like the conveyor, could have a whole lot of subtasks. This could end up being like a Trello board or something, but I don't want to go to that extent. I just want this as a list of projects to keep it in my mind, and then details of those projects can be elsewhere. So things I need to do for the conveyor are PCB, sensor mounts. I need to do review controller design, and what I mean by that is the touchscreen controller that I've had running on the prototype. There were changes. I think there might have been a couple of patch wires on it, and I just can't remember. It's been so long since I worked on that project that I've got it working, like it runs, but I may need to apply patches to the design and order new PCBs. There might be other things I need to add to it. I just can't remember. So I need to review the controller design. It might be fine. I might be able to just use my existing version of the controller, but I need to review it. And I also need to assemble extra chassis so that I can do some testing. I don't want my one and only to be one that is on the line. Now, conveyor. So conveyor is one that I need to do. All right, I have gone totally blank. People, Stephen W said, Side Squirrel, how many watts is your laser cutter? The Lachlan's laser cutter, not mine. I'm not sure, actually. I have a feeling that it might only be 80 watts. But it might be more. It might be 120 watts. Just not sure. Yeah, it'll cut pretty decent stuff. Surprisingly thick. Like it'll cut, I think, like 12mm acrylic. Oh, Scott says sufficient wattage to cut acrylic. Oh yeah, easily. That's how I made these keyboard trays. In fact, I'm going to grab... Where did the other keyboard tray go? Oh, I remember. I'm going to grab that keyboard tray and show it to you. Yeah, when you have access to a laser cutter, it's really cool to be able to solve problems by dreaming up a design in your head and then making it real. And laser cutters are fast. It's much faster than 3D printing or other things that you can use. How am I going to show this to you? I think I'll just use the front camera. So this is the version 1 of the keyboard tray. This was all done on Lachlan's laser cutter. How am I going to hold this so that you can see it? How about I show you from the bottom? All right, so you can see there is a back plate.
1.2 JIGGAWATTS.
Gigawatts. Gerald, thank you. I will get to that in a second. So this is 6mm acrylic. Cuts this no problem at all. And so that's 6mm. There is this big piece, the clear one here is 6mm. And then on this one, I used what did I use? 3mm? Looks like 3mm. Acrylic for the white, and then I used thicker on the new versions. So this is the version of the keyboard tray that I first did, and you can see that it's got the recess there where the keyboard sits. But because the keyboard has the battery compartment protruding down the back, it didn't sit flat. It sat on this at a slight angle. And on the new one, there is a slot in here that the keyboard fits into, so it sits flush. It sits flat. So yeah, being able to, and you can see this is kind of foggy. That's because I used super glue to glue all of this together, but it makes it very strong, and it's at an angle. If that is vertical, see if I can get this at an angle, you can see the keyboard sits on an angle. So when you are standing in front of the pick and place machine, you put your hands down on the keyboard, it's all at a nice angle. Okay.
New item for the list. Ignore the squirrels. Good luck.
Good luck. Testomatic. Thanks, Gerald, for reminding me of this. Yes, what I need now from you a bit is I need you to remind me of all the things that I have failed to do. This is your time to, to hold me accountable. What other things that I've missed? Testomatic. Okay, I definitely need to do more Testomatic. And one of them is increase depth of, Amanda. In 18 days, I will have been a member for 2 years, says Amanda. 23 months as a silver supporter. Thank you, Amanda. That is really cool. How did Michael, cheeky. So all of the things, yeah, only 2 hours to remind me of all the things I've failed to do. Increase depth of test module, replace I/O expanders, and that'll do for now. There are other things I need to do. Now, one thing, increased depth of test module. I will very briefly explain this. The test module that I originally designed was, the reason I'm hesitating is this could be a rabbit hole that I fall into. Okay, the summary, the very brief summary is, the test module consists of a couple of layers that are bolted together with spacers. Those spacers give room for the test the test pin holders to protrude through the bottom. I designed those spacers to use 18mm spacers. I think it was 18. For various reasons, I want to change them to 20mm spacers. That will allow a couple of things. Firstly, 20mm spacers are easy to get, and can you hear that? Someone is whippersnippering outside the front, and I've left the front door open because it's such a nice day. But I'm going to close it. Hello, Mr. Whippersnipper. That'll help. It's someone at a factory over the road. I can still hear it, but it's not as bad now. Yeah, so what I want to do is increase the depth of the test modules by using 20mm spacers instead of 18mm spacers. That has a flow-on effect, which means that I need to lower the deck of the test chassis to provide clearance for those extra deep modules. So that's what that is. This is not a real problem. It's just messing around in Fusion a little bit and changing the design a little. So it's not really a challenge. It's just, I just got to do it. And replacing the I/O expanders. This is one that is more work, but this is taking the current combination of digital I/O plus analog in plus analog out as 3 separate blocks of pins, and replacing them with multiplexed I/O expanders that do both DAC, ADC, and digital on a per pin basis. Can you use leveling screws? Leveling screws for what? What are you talking about? Wagon loads. Are you talking about leveling these machines? These have leveling casters on them. What I ended up doing was putting on, it's a little bit hard to see, I put on the Vevor leveling casters that were recommended right here in the stream. So there is a caster wheel that is offset from the center line, and there is a big rubber pad on the center line, and there is a bolt with a little ratchet on it that cranks it up and down. So at the moment, these machines aren't sitting on the wheels. The rubber pads have been cranked down and then adjusted so that they are sitting level and on the pads. They can't roll. But if I ever need to move the machines, all I do is raise the pads, which lets the machine sit down on the wheels again, and then I can just push them around. So it gives me the best of both worlds. So they are in their permanent position, and they are positioned, this face where the logo KO is there, on both the machines, that is within probably 1 millimeter or so accuracy from the wall and aligned with each other. So they are very accurately aligned, but then they're sitting on the pad so they can't move. Ah, okay, Wagon Load says height adjuster on your PCB test jig, I think you're talking about. Ah, okay, different topic. I misunderstood the question. Height adjuster on your PCB test jig. Well, there's the clamp mechanism that comes over the top. That is going to need to be finished. In fact, I'll add that on. I'm going to say pressure plate mech. That'll do. I understand what that is. The pressure plate is the thing that comes down on the top and applies force to the top of the circuit board to hold it engaged with the pogo pins. Project, air filters installed at all solder stations. Yes. So, air purify, clean room air purifier, clean room see, actually no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of having a whole lot of things, I was starting to fall down the rabbit hole of subtasks. Let's not do that. Cleanish room. I'm just going to say cleanish room is the project. And I'm going to say air purifier and seal room, because there are still gaps around edges and things that haven't been sealed up yet. And what else? Oh, also in the cleanish room, I want a decent, we've been talking in the past about air dryers, and I wanted to do something better than the basic filter that's on it now. So I'm just going to say air dryer. That'll do. Oh, no, I'll say compressed air dryer. Compressed. Like maybe a refrigeration, like one of those refrigerated type air dryers. Anyway, that's a whole thing. People had lots of suggestions about that on the last stream, like repurposing turbo intercoolers or oil coolers or whatever, and doing chilled air dryers. So compressed air dryer, I'm going to leave on there. KiCad library conversion. Ooh, let's say KiCad is a project. Convert fusion libraries. I'll leave that. Now there have got to be a heap of projects. All right, people, what projects have I been working on over the last 12 months, 24 months that need to be brought to fruition. Oh, I know one. RJ45 breakout. This is the light switch breakout. Produce updated design. So I've done a, I made some changes incorporating some of the very, very clever ideas that Austin has been using in some of his designs. Some call it fun, says Funway Reboot. Yeah, okay, I'm going to put it on here, but I don't think I'm going to put any specific tasks in there yet. I can't think of anything in particular. Oh, IoT access point. Yes, I'm not even sure. Johnny! My Swedish friend is here. Your list needs coffee breaks. Yeah. Is there a moisture probe that tests SMD parts for humidity level in the parts? Asked Wagon Loads. I have... Hang on, I'm going to show you something. This is data from humidity sensors. Let's see, zoom. I have Zigbee environmental sensors inside the part storage boxes. So you can see, for example, I've got a box for capacitors. I've got two boxes for resistors. These are, these are getting a bit high. I need to refresh the desiccant in it. I have, what are they rated at? Like IP69 or something. They are, I've got plastic tubs with snap down locks on all four sides, and they've got rubber gaskets in them, and they are airtight. Like they're good quality storage containers that are designed to be airtight. And I have my parts stored in those boxes, and in each box, in fact, I wonder if you can see them here. No, you can't. And in each box, oh, maybe you can. I'm having a quick look at photos. No, not that photo. What about this photo? Oh, you can just see it in this photo. They are up on this shelf at the back here. Good. Oh, come on, zoom in. Why can't I zoom? What's wrong with... Why has my trackpad stopped working? What? Oh, now it works. That's weird. Okay, so you can see these plastic tubs up the back.
Printer 1 is deep underwater.
Printer 1 is deep underwater. Yeah. Printer 1 is in the room here with me. It's directly over my head. You can see it right there. So it's just exposed to environmental, like whatever the environment is, that's what Printer 1 will be reporting. So yeah, these plastic tubs, you can see that there is a laser cut piece of core flute in the front of it, which has a laser cut hole where there is an environmental sensor. So that's a temperature and humidity sensor just for local display. So it's not a smart one or anything, it just shows what it currently is. And then this little white thing here that you can just see above the top of the light tree, and there's another one over here, these are Zigbee environmental sensors. So each of these boxes has two environmental sensors in it, and those numbers are what is being reported back to here. So, oh, I see what you mean, 654%. What the hell is going on with that? Yeah, I don't think it's 654% humidity. I don't know what's going on there. That's really weird. So yeah, Lab Enviro, 53%. That is the actual humidity at the moment, right now, in the room I'm sitting in. So 23.2 degrees, 53% humidity. Clean room is also at 53% humidity, 23.3 degrees. So you can see that the environment in here and the environment in the clean room are very much the same thing. The dehumidifier is not running in the clean room right now. I need to start that up again. But this is the humidity inside those sealed storage containers. And the containers get opened every now and then, probably every day or two. So over time, the desiccant in them will need to be refreshed, and I need to do that, as you can see. So I have reasonably decent storage for parts that are not on the machine, at least. Once the reels sit on the machine, then they will be at whatever the atmosphere is. 654%. Yeah, let's find out what is it. 654% humidity. I really don't know what is going on with that sensor, or how it can possibly be reporting 654% humidity. Oh, it says the battery on it is flat. Maybe it's... Oh, and the last data from it was 70 days ago. Let's see, if I bring this up, you can see these other sensors, like clean room environment was reported 2 minutes ago. Clean room west door, that's the door sensor, was 17 minutes ago, 23 minutes on parts incoming. But you can see printer 1 enviro is 70 days and the battery is flat. Yeah, as you can tell, I don't really pay attention to that. I didn't even notice that that one was flat for the last 2.5 months. What is the model of the Zigbee sensor? Asked Amanda. That is an Akara. I will find it. Akara Enviro sensor. It is... It is this thing right here. Smart control. That looks like the one I've got, at least. I'm going to drop that into the chat. And Zigbee Akara. And what I might do is I'm going to be super cheeky and see if I have... Where are we? Parts orders. I'm just opening another spreadsheet that I will... I want to see if I can find a link. Temperature, humidity sensor 8-pack. Okay, this is where I bought it from. I got a sneeze coming on. I can tell. It's going to be here in any moment now. I got the mute button in time. Just in time. So this is... I just consulted my spreadsheet of AliExpress purchases, and this is where I ordered my last lot from. It is what I got, an 8-pack or something, 3, 4. The last order I placed was for an 8-pack of these, and it was from here. I'm going to... this is not a commission thing. It's not available for commission. So this is Akara sensors. I will leave this in the chat as well. Sadly, I do not get a commission off that because it's not available for commission links. Yeah, anyway, that's what I currently have, combined with a Zigbee to MQTT based gateway using the board I designed several years ago. Your sneeze has arrived, yeah. Ooh, Johnny says, I bought some cheap Bluetooth ones with LCD display, then ATC released a Zigbee firmware for them. Well, that sounds handy. Johnny, if you got info about that, please drop it in the chat, like a link to them or something, or a particular model number so that it can be searched for. If you don't have a link, that would be really, really handy. All right, now, people, what else are we going to work on? IoT AP. And, okay, I'm going to have a quick look around my room. OpenKO. Yeah, OpenKO. I think I'm going to put that on the list All right, so situation with OpenKO is that it is such a niche thing that I don't think anybody else is ever going to care. I built those boards for myself, but maybe it'll be useful for other people. So I'm going to put it on the list. I kind of almost consider it. Oh, I know. Air quality sensor. Air quality sensor. This is this is one of the things I'm going to, at some point, once we finish brain dumping, I'm going to start ordering this and have some kind of a priority so that we can work on things over the coming months and get these to the point of done. And I need to define done. Okay. This is the meta question. If we are working on something, now pretty much none of these projects are ever going to be done to the point that we can say they're not going to change again. There will always be evolution and development and change. So when I say done, I mean complete to the point where I am satisfied that it is a functional device and that other people can make use of it. So in the case of the Rack 32, for example, other people can't make use of it because it's in this limbo situation where I need to do the redesign and then produce boards. So it's kind of unobtainium right now. I need to fix that situation. And with the Testomatic, I need to do more work on it. I need to do documentation and release all of the designs, all the laser cut designs. I need to make them available as kits. I need to work on the cloud service side of it with Mitch. There is a whole thing there. Yeah, as Scott says, no project is ever done. So my definition of done my definition of finished for the sake of this list is that I can feel satisfied that I have explored that project as much as I want to explore it, and I can put it out of my mind to some extent. So all of these things are things that I can't put out of my mind because they need more stuff to be done. Now, the air quality sensor is actually really close because the electronics seems to be working. I think there are 0 revisions required on the electronics, and I have PCBs, so I could assemble more of them. And the firmware situation, that is in pretty good shape now. So, no thanks to me, of course. It's all Austin's work. So Austin's firmware for that is, it is functional. It's working. It reads things, it reports to MQTT, it shows stuff on the screen. You can click the mode button and do things. I'm happy with that firmware. The firmware side of it, I would say is done. The electronics, I would say, is done. What I need to do is enclosure. So I need to design an updated enclosure for it. I designed an enclosure for the previous revision, but mechanically it's changed. So I need a new enclosure, and then I need to produce some so that other people can buy them, I guess. I always feel bad about selling stuff, but if people want to, if people really want to pay me for something, then that's okay. So, in fact, I don't like the word produce. I'm going to say make some. So I need to design enclosure. There we go. The wheel is invented again every day. Yep. Design enclosure, make some. All right. What other projects? What have we worked on? Come on, people, over the last couple of years. Throw some stuff at me. I am literally looking around the room for inspiration because there will be boxes here with stuff that I need to put some time into. Now, what I've been half deliberately overlooking here is a whole bunch of assistive tech projects. because that is a whole category in itself. But I think I'll put a couple down here. All right, let's put down zero stick. That is the zero deflection joystick. And review status of project. I'm going to put nothing more than that because I have made a number of prototypes working with Chris and Peter. We got the wheelchair driving around. We got the wheelchair driving around with the zero stick, but it had some problems. So I need to do that. Mini open adaptive controller. That is another project. I'm not even quite sure what needs to be done on that. It works. Maybe what I'm kind of interested in doing with the mini open adaptive controller is a redesign based on maybe the RP2040, because RP2040 or ESP32, at the moment it uses an 80 mega an 80 mega 32U4 processor, so it appears as an Arduino Leonardo. And the reason that I designed it around that was to leverage the work that had already been done with HID emulation, so that you can make it appear to be a keyboard or a mouse or a game controller or whatever. But the world has kind of moved on from those old style AVRs. And I like the idea of using something like an RP2040 so that you can use MicroPython for development instead of doing Arduino, and also, or maybe CircuitPython, so you can do drag and drop stuff onto it. Wagon Lane says, I need assistive tech for my robots. Crispian says, spotlight control for auto spotlights for the garden. Modular solar battery, flux capacitor. Wagon Load says, I made 10 or 20 iterations or something, then I discovered a new part which scrapped all previous versions. Oh, yeah, that does happen. Oh, John, thank you. So John Evans said, I remember you working on a thermal camera, but that was a long time ago, I think. That is definitely one of them. Thermal camera. Review status of firmware. That is kind of a sub-project of Test-O-Matic. That's how it came about. But I think it's interesting enough that we can treat it as its own separate project. So yes, that is a cool thing that we can play around with. Thanks for reminding me of that. But also, I hadn't seen your name in the chat before, which means there are more people to say hello to. John Evans, hello. Johnny, I said hello to you earlier. Russell Rainey, VL Andrew, Gavin Jackson is here, and Keith. Keith, Mr. Barbecue H is in the chat. Which reminds me, when is the next barbecue? It is 2 Sundays from now, so 2 weeks. All right. Now, throwing my mind slightly wider and thinking about barbecues, I need to do. I need to make mech area benches. Well done. Mech area lighting. Do it. So by mech area, I mean the mechanical fabrication area out in the factory. So I'm pointing at you. It's because it is directly behind where the camera is right now. And what else? So I'm thinking slightly more broadly of things to do. Oh, cleanish room, compressed air dryer. The other thing I need to do is raise corner bench. Okay, Box Up KO3. Don S is here as well. Welcome, Don S from NZ. Check out Mr. Fixit. Let's jump into local AI. Check out deepx.ai, $50 AI accelerator.
Make area mess. Clean it up.
Yeah, that is always. Inventory management, because that's always an issue. Gerald, thank you. I'm going to say...
Make area mess. Clean it up.
Management. Inventory. Yeah, so... Mr. Fixit, local AI. Yes. That is... We're meant to be finishing projects, not starting them. Keep your squirrels to yourself. Oh, I so want to do that. But, yeah. Okay, the focus for today is things that I have already started and have failed to complete. Mr. Fixit says, use deepx.ai for your inventory management. Oh, Tassie Bob says, inventory is what I use. Somewhat poorly, though. Yeah. Yes. Mitch started playing around with setting up inventory, and it turned into a bit of a dependency nightmare. I haven't tried to do it myself, but from what I heard from listening to his cries of pain, it turns out that setting up inventory is not so straightforward. And yeah, I want to try it myself as well and see where the pain is. Tassie Bob. Oh, some call it fun says, okay, so no SourceBot Mark II. Got it. No, I am going to put that on there. SourceBot Mark II. Design it. I can't help myself. We need robots. We need robots for the barbecues. Now, what other projects? Oh, I'm still on PartKeeper, says Johnny. Yeah, I did actually install PartKeeper. This was a couple of years, maybe 3 years ago. I think it was before I moved into this factory. So it's probably about 3 years ago. I installed PartKeeper, played around with it briefly. All I can remember is that I didn't like it, but I don't remember why I didn't like it. It may have
Pete
well
said,
been...
Project. Pete stuff. Next task. All the things.
All the things. Don S asked, does inventory integrate with your parts bin camera system? Not directly, but my plan would be to integrate it to some extent, because I think inventory has an API that allows you to do updates, so you could change the location of things based on where it was discovered by the camera system. Tassie Bob says mine is running in Docker. Yep. I think, I'm not sure, but I have a feeling that Mitch may have been trying to get it set up with Docker. Because with Docker, inventory needs the inventory installation itself, plus you need a database container and something else. I think it's like a multi-container setup, and they're all sort of dependent on each other. Wagon Load says, I've been wondering if using AI is dangerous for people trying to develop proprietary products. Possibly. That has been quite an issue in terms of privacy, not just for product development, but for companies that use... Okay, I'll try not to go down this rabbit hole too much. If you use a machine learning system that is hosted externally, then the data that you use to interact with that system ends up on the provider's machines. That's just the way it works. It's a cloud-based service, so they have access to your data. The question, therefore, is, can they be trusted with your data? Do you know what they are doing with it once it hits their system? And yeah, so one of the big considerations for companies that are using AI, I use that term loosely, is do you do on premises or do you use a cloud-based system? And doing things on premises can be tricky. Anyway, that's a whole bucket of worms. Oh, Johnny said, Moo Sion, you're on inventory. Sion has his own system. Oh, is it Partkeeper? No, that's right. No, I am misremembering. I've got so confused about the names of things. I think there was another stock management system that that I used. I can't remember if Partkeeper is Sion's system or if that was another system. I've gone blank on it. Anyway, I am sure that there are 3 inventory management systems that I have looked at. There's Sion's, which
AI, artificial insanity.
My Parts, that's right. Sion said My Parts. Sion's is My Parts. So Partkeeper is the first one that I tried that I didn't like for reasons I can't remember. There is Sion's, which is My Parts, and there is Inventory. Yeah, so those are the 3. Where are we? What am I doing? Okay, sorry, I've got a spreadsheet open in front of me, which is distracting me. I've got to avoid the distractions. The point of this stream is to get around the distractivation and get it out on the spreadsheet. All right. Yeah, so Partkeeper I think ended up kind of abandonware for sad reasons. For local control, no cloud stuff. Donna said Lewis Rossman is warning about that software, but I don't know what. Donna, what are you referring to? Are you referring to Partkeeper or deepx.ai? It is, or I don't know, or inventory, no idea. So Don S, what is Lewis warning about? For those of you who don't know, Lewis Rossman is a dude who has been doing Mac repair for a long time and doing videos about it, and is very heavily into the right to repair movement. He's a big advocate for it. He does videos taking companies to task, and particularly Apple, as you can imagine, for designs and business practices that try to lock consumers into a particular supplier. Tassie Bob says bamboo, lol. Yes. Wagon Loads asked, can't you use she who shall not be named to tell you where you put things? Well, I kind of can, but that system is only half set up and it's kind of brittle. It needs more work. Yes, Tassie Bob says bamboo. All right, that is a whole topic in itself with what Bamboo have done to lock people into, yeah, anyway. I am not qualified. I have watched a couple of the rants about it, but I am not qualified really to have an opinion on that, so I am going to avoid sharing an opinion that is not really an opinion. Just all I can say is it's a pity. I was right on the edge of ordering a Bamboo printer. If this hadn't happened, I probably would have ordered one within the next week or so. And
Scott Miller
now I'm
said,
not.
sticky notes on the desk with part names, locations.
Sticky notes. This is my part management system. Yeah, I probably would have ordered a Bamboo printer within the next week or so. My plan was to come back from everything open and give serious consideration to that. And while I was away, or just at the start of the conference, is when the whole Bamboo thing came up. And now I am not going to order one while I figure out what the hell is going on. And yeah, Tassie Bob says, I was thinking about it after using the X1 in the office, not anymore. Yeah, so just last night I was lying in bed, unable to sleep, and I, hang on, Prusa, Core 1, and yeah, so, yeah, okay, Joseph, I agree. So the Core 1 is just about to be available. Shipping starts January 2025, new orders in March 2025. So if I order one now, it'll be a few months before I get it. And this is Prusa's response to the Bamboo Core XY printers. And it's an evolution of their existing design. In fact, you can even get, if you have like a Mark III, oh no, a Mark IV or a 4S, you can get an upgrade kit that takes your Prusa Mark IV and turns it into one of these by reusing a lot of the existing parts. So I am now giving much more serious consideration to a Core 1 compared to an X1 or one of the other Bamboo printers. Donna says, need a recommendation for a fast Core XY with filament change. And Wagon Load says, if you can't hack the firmware, you don't own it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Wagon Loads. That is really what's made me think twice about the Bamboo printers. I know many people who have Bamboo printers and love them, and it seems they are great printers. They do a fantastic job. They are fast, they do good prints, they work well, they don't tend to have as many problems. It's much more of the plug it in and print experience that you would want from like a tool rather than a project. It's just the worry about what they are doing. Oh, John says Bamboo firmware has already been hacked. Interesting. Johnny says, I was looking at Bamboo and Prusa for multicolor prints. I'm glad I opted for the Prusa XL. Yeah. Amanda says, as I don't run a print farm, it should not affect me that much. I still intend to buy a second X1C. Yep. A second X1C. You've already got one. Right. Yeah. So the X1C is such a nice printer. It is such a nice printer. It's just this, if this thing hadn't come up that made me think twice about it, I would have ordered something like that, or maybe a P1S. But now, Yet it hasn't totally stopped me from ordering a Bamboo printer. It just means it is now a high consideration purchase, and I have to stop and think about it and consider my options. And I had totally disregarded the Prusa Core 1 as an option, and I just never even considered it, because I've seen so many people who have been so happy with the Bamboo printers that was just like an automatic thing. It was like, okay, that is the printer to get. But this issue with the firmware is just that little thing that's made me stop and think, hang on, I need to actually consider this and think about my options, and maybe something like the Core 1 is a viable alternative. So yeah, I may still end up buying a Bamboo printer, particularly if the firmware has been hacked. But I need to stop and think about it. That's what I'm saying. Oh yeah, Don S said, I think Bamboo are heading towards a subscription model. Yeah, that is sucky. Like what happened with the vinyl cutter. Was it the Cricut? One of those vinyl cutters that is used for cutting shapes and things out of vinyl. Kind of in the name, isn't it? went to a subscription model a while ago where you had to go through their cloud service for the software, and you could only have, I think it was up to 5 designs stored unless you paid a fee. Yeah, you got this piece of equipment physically sitting on your bench and you can't use it because you need to pay a monthly fee. That's annoying. I very much dislike that. I understand why companies do it. It's the recurring revenue model that all companies aspire to, but selling hardware is a bit of an odd one because they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They want to make the money off the hardware sale, and then they want the recurring revenue from those. Richard says Cricut. Yeah, it was the Cricut vinyl cutter that went subscription. SourceBot Mark II. Yeah, that's way that is way down the list, but it is still there. It's a fun thing. So what else? What else? All right, I need to cast my mind around the lab, around the factory, because some of this is for your benefit, some of it is for mine. I'm going to be a little bit selfish and think about things that I want to do or achieve that you may not necessarily care about, which could include. So in some ways, this is kind of like it's almost a to-do list for myself. CNC, says Keith. Yes, that's it. That is a good one. Thank you. Desktop CNC, convert to Linux CNC. So for those of you who don't know, I have a little CNC machine.
Project Steve and Steph in space.
That's I'm going to put it on here. Steve and Steph in space. I'm going to put it in here, but that is a new thing. The whole idea is, in fact, I'm going to drag it down and, and SourceBot. Let's drag that down as well. I'm going to make a differentiation between existing projects and new things that I haven't started yet. I want to finish things. So, yeah. Vinyl cutting, head attach work well. I refuse to buy. Okay, so John says, I refuse to buy any cloud subscription. It's prevalent in software now, and hardware is quickly following. Been bitten a few times where a hosting company has gone bust. Right, yep. Okay, so Don S asked, which tasks are low-hanging and which have high ROI? All right, so this is starting to come into a little bit of prioritization. Now, air quality sensor, I think, is probably fairly high on the list because yeah, so many things. I'm going to do some shuffling of the order of this. Air quality sensor, I think I might leave near the top of the list. Rack 32 near the top. Conveyor, I need to bring way up because I actually need that. That is something that I want to have working. Oh, which reminds me, while I was away at the conference, what? Pete said 16 minutes. 16 minutes? What? How has this gone already? Okay. While I was away at the conference, I did a thing. I opened Vim and I started writing Python. I wrote some code that I'm just wondering if I can show it to you. Let's see. Where did I even put it? Oh, I know where it is. Kind of. Let's see. Okay, manufacturing. And it is kind of embarrassing at the moment, but I'm just trying to figure out how to make it work. KOA4. Oh, no. Open PNP. Jobs. Test. Okay, I am going to show you a thing. This is a rough prototype of a thing. Assign parts auto. I'm going to do clean I'm not even sure if it's going to run on this computer because I was developing it on a different computer.
Cabray's Malik said, did you manage to close Vim?
No, I've had the same Vim session open since 1996. I just keep opening new files in it. Let's see if this works. I'm just going to try running a job. VS4. No, maybe I can't run it on this machine. Anyway. Sorry, what I'm doing is mentally figuring out if I'm going to go down the rabbit hole of showing you what I have been working on. What I will do... No, okay. I will reserve that. I will get into that in a future thing. So, I will put it down on here. It is open PNP cluster. And the next thing is write out target job files. That is not going to make any sense to you right now, but it makes sense to me, and that's all that matters. I'm going to bring that way up here because I need to finish that. All right, so what I'm getting at here, what this does is allow me to run multiple pick and place machines as a cluster. I can define a job, which is a circuit board, so, which might be panelized and ready to assemble. And then I have a script that I've been writing, which is an assign parts script, that's the thing I was just talking about writing in Python. While I was away, I wrote this thing. What it does is it reads the configuration files from two pick and place machines to discover what feeders they have loaded and what parts they have enabled. It then loads a job file and uses that to find the panel definition file. It then reads the panel definition file, uses that to find all the board files that are loaded on that panel. It then opens those board files and it makes two copies. One copy for the first machine, one copy for the second machine. It then references the feeders that are set up on those machines and it turns parts on and off in those two job files and then writes them out to disk. It then writes two new panel files, one panel file for machine 1, one panel file for machine 2. And the next stage that I need to do, that's where I'm up to. I've got it doing all of that. What I need to do now is get it to write out two job files, one for machine 1, one for machine 2. The end result is you can start with a board. Like say you've got a panel of boards and you might have 300 placements on that panel. Some of those placements are going to happen in machine 1. Some of the placements will happen in machine 2. So what you can do is feed the panel through the start of the line, comes into the beginning of machine 1. Some of the parts are put on. It then proceeds to machine 2. The rest of the parts are put on and then it goes out the exit. So by the time it has got to the end of the job, all of the parts have been put on, but some have been done in one machine, some in the other. So essentially what it does is it allows me to take a pick and place job and run multiple pick and place machines as a cluster. So that'll give me more feeders available. It'll give me higher throughput because I'll have 8 nozzles on 2 independent heads that can be running simultaneously. And yeah, I should get a throughput boost on it, and I will also get a lot more flexibility because I can have I'll be able to have up to 96 feeders loaded across the 2 machines. So that'll be cool. Anyway, and it's all just a chunk of Python that takes care of it. Scott says, I remember when it was just VI. Yeah, for many people it is still VI. Some call it fun. Lol, in Vim for years, nobody told you :WQ. Stephen says, to exit Vim, press reset and power button. Yeah, that's right. Every computer comes with an exit Vim button. It's the big one with the circle and the line in it. Some Call It Fun says, is AI/machine learning a thing for PCB inspection? Ooh, that's going on the list. That is already something that Andy and I have been talking about, and it's ML PCB inspection. I'm going to make that a project. So I've been accumulating. I've just got to find, where do they go? Superhouse, Testomatic, processed images. All right. This is, I'm not going to zoom in too much on any in particular. Well, I might open one or two, but this folder that you can see of images, these are all photos of PCBs that have been taken after they've gone through the test process. And you can see, well, I'll open this one because it's a Rack 32. So this is actually the Rack 32 that is going to be sent to that person who I was talking about earlier, who has a broken light switch system. So I have a little light box next to the tester. As you can see, it needs more lighting in it, particularly around this front side, but it's okay. So there is a record kept, and what you can see is there is a QR code on here. It's serial number 1729, and that QR code takes you to a URL where, if you have the privileges, you can log into the Superhouse portal and you can see the complete production history of this board. So you can see when it was assembled, the test results. You can see, the idea is that you will be able to see this photo of the board, and you can see the file name. The file has been renamed based on the serial number. What is that one? I'm not sure if I should open that. That's a customer board. That's a customer board. Well, actually, these ones are okay to open because these are customer boards, but Simon doesn't mind me showing these on the stream. So this is a board out of a water cannon joystick. It's got the joystick connection on the left, panel button, the CAN bus connection on the right, etc. And yeah, so this, you can see the, I need to clean up the light box. It's got some scratches on the base there which show up. Anyway, the point of all of this is that I now have this collection of images because each of the boards I've been producing recently, I've taken a photo of, and they've got uploaded into here. So what I can do is I could teach an ML model to do visual inspection of these boards and detect, for example, you can see here, this is a pluggable screw terminal. And when I supply them to T-Rex, I plug these in so that when they pull them out of the box, they've got the matching plugs that go into the sockets. But what if I forgot to put these in and then I shipped them without the plug? Then at the other end, they wouldn't have a plug that they could use to wire them up. So that's a quality assurance thing. And there is a checklist that I go through and mark off, have you attached the plugs? Have you done this? Have you done that? And this could all be checked by machine learning as well. So we could have ML that checks, for example, for tombstone parts or missing parts, or header put on backwards or something. And I have images that can be used as training data. So yeah. Yes. Michael says, my first editor in Unix was Ed. So yes, I'm old. Yeah, I've used Ed. I have a feeling it might have been my first editor as well. And then I switched to using Nano. I think I was using either Nano or Ed in the early days. Scott says, Nano is for people that aren't really serious about what they're editing. Yep. But Yeah, I didn't know any better. And it was what was provided on the timeshare computer that I was using. I didn't actually have I didn't have a Unix machine at the time. I was remoting into a a machine, and Nano was the editor that they provided. I think it was Nano and Ed and maybe something else. I don't know. I don't remember. They probably provided VI or something as well, but I was too dumb to know about it. David said, I think it was even Michael who laughed at me the first time I tried to use VI and opened a new session and just killed the VI session from the other session. Yeah. You are not the only person to have done that. I have done that too. And anybody who has used VI and been stuck, I'm sure, has taken the thermonuclear kill the power approach or kill the process. Simple text from OS 9. Oh yeah, I remember simple text. That's right. Okay. Yeah, David says, I now know how to use VI. Yeah. So, all right. This is not a definitive list. I'm sure there will be more. So desktop CNC, I have my little CNC machine sitting out there, and my friend Steve is very anxious for me to convert that to Linux CNC. So he's using Linux CNC now on his big CNC lathe project, which is retrofitting that Mazak lathe, and on his plasma cutter. It runs on Linux CNC. He's got some other CNC machine that runs Linux CNC, and I'm going to say CNC so many times that it's going to start losing all meaning. Scott says, am I the only one here that used to regularly do my editing with a pencil and then toggle the program in? The Younglish says it is named Vim. Yeah, Vim is what I use. All right, I'm going to go soon. I'm going to stick to the schedule pretty much. But in the meantime, is there anyone who can think of anything else? What projects have I been working on that I need to finish? And how would I even find that? How do I remind myself what I've been working on? I'm just going to close a few things elsewhere on here. What I can do is open my projects directory. I'm going to have a quick squeeze through here and just see if anything jumps out. So we've already got the air quality sensor. There are so many projects in here that I could finish, but I need to do one Zigbee, ESP flasher. That's in okay shape. I just need to make more of them. Hand heater, GVS can, yeah. The Gluon C robot control. ITAP is in there. I'm just scanning through things that you can't see because there may be things in this folder that I shouldn't let you see. PCB conveyor is in there. Yeah, I've already got that on the list. OpenKO is in there. Rack 32. Smart switch. Yeah. Testomatic is in there. Yeah, okay. Any office security tweaks? Oh, many. There are things I want to do. Like in it says, I made my first website using a Mac SE30 and made the whole page 400 dots wide because the screen was 400 dots wide. Oh, Keith H says front garden. Yeah, okay. Front garden. Plan the layout. So next step is just to plan the layout. Obviously there is way more than that, but the front garden of the factory needs some TLC. A whole lot of what's already there needs to be ripped out. Need to have a plan for what's going to go in there. I want a table and chairs, like for barbecue / lunch type things. Don S says no ROI on front garden. There is indeed a return on that investment. The return is having somewhere nice to sit outside for having lunch and other things. So yeah, then you'll need automated irrigation. I'll need lots of things. The last bracket was in the wrong column. And an auto laser weeder, says Simon. Yeah. All right. Here is your chance. I mean, I'm sure we are going to project for that bottom section in-house board fab, said Scott Miller. No, I am going to strenuously avoid making my own PCBs. I've done it in the past, and I am perfectly happy with sending my designs off to JLC and having them arrive a week later looking perfect in whatever quantity I want. I don't want to be dealing with the chemicals or the mechanical aspect of CNC machining a PCB. So in Adelaide, I caught up with Ben Martin, who I haven't seen for a couple of years, who is into CNC as well, and he he is very much an advocate for using CNC machining to make PCBs, but it's just so limited. The problem is if you want to do double-sided, then you have the alignment problem, and then through holes you've got to put rivets in if you want to do vias. Your feature size is limited. If you want to do silkscreen, that's a whole extra thing. Well, not just silkscreen, but solder mask is a whole extra thing. You have to do like a UV cured solder mask, and the result isn't very good. So, and also most of my designs tend to be 4 layers these days, so 4 layers or more. So CNC machining PCBs just is not a viable solution for me. Okay, is there anything else that anyone can think of that we should work on a future live stream? Simon says, I would never use my CNC to make PCBs ever. Yeah, Mr. Fixit says, JLC makes it too easy. Yes. Wagon Load says, I figured out how to make a 2-sided PCB with a laser. Keith H, bench robot. Donna says, please pick up your soldering iron and speak into it like a microphone. Yeah. This will be enough to keep us busy for a while.
Mitchell R said, I think that should be enough for the year, lol.
Yeah. For now. In the meantime, if you think of more things, you can always bring them up at the next live stream and I can update this. What I'm going to do is keep opening this because I'm going to use this as a way of reminding myself of what needs doing, because I just keep forgetting. I will work on one thing, I'll jump to something else, I'll forget about the first thing, my brain is all over the place. This should keep us kind of on track and making progress.
The box said, Uru.
Marker completed to-do list, says Mitchell. Right. All right, I am going to go, and next week we will do something. Okay, this is my undertaking to you. Next week we are going to do something on the stream. Maybe I will design the enclosure for the air quality sensor. Maybe I will do some design on the conveyor. So maybe we'll do some redesign on the Rack 32. It'll be one of these things because I want to not just have fun on a Sunday morning here chatting to all of you beautiful people. I also want to suck your brains and use your expertise to help me actually complete some of these things. So I'm going to do them for real, live in front of you. And that's it. So have a wonderful weekend if you're in Australia, having a long weekend. And I will talk to you all really soon. And remember that in 2 weeks' time, it is the barbecue. So I will see some of you then. And maybe there will even be progress that you can see. Hopefully, 2 machines live running that you can see in person. So, thank you, all my Super Peep friends. And I will talk to you all really soon. Bye.